We now move to Latin America. The president of Honduras announced that it will establish diplomatic relations with China. And this is a huge blow for Taiwan. Presently, Honduras shares full diplomatic ties with the self-governed island of Taiwan. It's one of the only 14 countries to do so. The Honduran president did not specify that it would cut ties with Taiwan. But that's a given, because China does not allow official relations with Taiwan under its One China policy. This is what China's foreign ministry said after the announcement.
The fact that 181 countries in the world have established diplomatic ties with China on the basis of the One China principle fully proves that establishing diplomatic ties with China is the right choice in keeping with the trend of history and the progressive trend of the times. On the basis of the One China principle, China is willing to develop friendly and cooperative relations with Honduras and other countries in the world.
Honduras would join its neighbor Nicaragua in forsaking Taipei. Remember, Nicaragua abandoned Taiwan in 2021. Over the last few years, China has been luring Taiwan's allies away. It hopes to leave the island internationally isolated. And China has been accused of using checkbook diplomacy to achieve its goals. What is checkbook diplomacy? Exactly what it sounds like. China promises funds in exchange for recognition. The Honduran announcement comes just weeks after another announcement that it was working out a deal with China to build a hydroelectric dam. China had earlier given a $300 million to Honduras to complete another dam. This quid pro quo is not an anomaly. Let's look at some of the other recent swaps. The Dominican Republic switched over to Beijing in 2018. China is said to have promised it $3.1 billion in investments and loans. El Salvador also broke ties with Taiwan in 2018. The US says China is funding its ruling party. Panama switched in 2017. China reportedly offered a free feasibility study on developing the Panama Canal. In Africa, Gambia switched in 2013. Millions in aid started pouring in from China after that. In Oceania, the Solomon Islands switched in 2019. Again, accusations of millions offered for developmental assistance. The list goes on. China has the money to bribe countries to swap allegiances. Taiwan too has tried to grease the diplomatic wheels, but it cannot match China's wealth. China also offers other incentives like tourists. In 2019, there were more than 150 million Chinese tourists traveling abroad, 150 million. China opens flights to Taiwan's former allies, and the tourist horde boosts their economies. Taiwan's population is about 23 million. It cannot compete. Taiwan's remaining allies are mostly small countries in Central America or Pacific Island nations. And Taiwan has said it's a sincere and reliable partner that Honduras should reconsider.
The only motivation for China to develop ties with Honduras is to limit Taiwan's international space. They have no intention of implementing any partnership that could be beneficial to Honduras's people. Honduras should seriously reconsider and not fall into China's trap by making wrong decisions and damaging the long-standing friendship between Taiwan and Honduras.
Initially, Chinese money and tourists will help the ailing economies of Latin America. The investments will bring jobs. The governments can showcase work done and perhaps retain popular support. It's so well known. The opposition party in Paraguay is promising to switch recognition to China if voted to power. But is it worth the risk? China's proclivity for debt-trap diplomacy is well known. In South Asia, Sri Lanka and Pakistan are reaping the benefits of China's open checkbook. Debt is rising unsustainably across Africa, and China has a role to play there too. Maybe Latin America should take a look east before cashing in the Chinese check.